Welcome, everyone, to the 2015 Ford Ecoboost 400 at Homestead Race Review, where I recap what went on before the race, during the race, and after the race. And this is the last race review of the season, but it won't be the last for the playlist, I guess you'd say, because I do plan on making the video sometime in the future, hopefully at least sometime within the next 2 weeks, just giving my thoughts on the entire season. And the reason why it's obviously not happening tonight is because as I'm recording this, the season finale ended a couple hours ago, and I really need more time to really collect my thoughts and really give what I think will be a better analysis for myself and the fans who tune in to watch these race reviews. And I actually appreciate everyone who watches these. And I hope that some of you enjoy them, even though I don't think I'm really anywhere near perfect, but I hope I can definitely get better in the future, and maybe do something else with these race reviews, maybe add like special effects, maybe like something more than you just seeing like a black screen the whole time, and so on. But I don't have anything planned or anything special planned for next season, so I just want to point that out there. Anyway, so just overall thoughts on the race, mixed emotions. This season has definitely not been anywhere near my favorite season. And overall, the race, I actually think the Homestead, it's definitely climbing up or is among my favorite mile-and-a-half racetracks, mainly because Homestead, it's bumpy. The surface is very abrasive, and we saw on a couple of occasions in this race, about how like if you stayed out, or even if you took two tires, it was not worth it because thing is on a restart you would start or restart in the front, and all of a sudden you would drop back. So tires are becoming very important. And I think next season, when we get that low downforce package and softer tires, it's going to be even more important. But the thing is, the racing quality itself still I think it did help a little bit, because the surface is wide, it's bumpy, etc. But overall, it wasn't drastically different from what we have seen, I think, in most of the races this season, especially the ones on the 2015 rules package. On the 2015 rules package, and that's actually one thing then, and it's one of the reasons why I'm glad the season's over, is because we'll never have to use this package again. When the race started, though, it did get off to a pretty crazy start, though. Hamlin had some kind of engine failure, and actually he went behind the wall and was able to get all three of his laps back. And the thing is, early on, it was hard to get a long reflag run in. And one of the cautions early on actually included a pretty big wreck that actually took out probably at least 10 cars, or maybe even more, got some type of damage. And usually Homestead is not the place you usually think of when it comes to tracks that could have huge wrecks. But then all of a sudden, as the sun went down and eventually became nighttime, it was what became sort of anybody's game eventually narrowed down to just a few drivers. Some of these drivers were in the Final Four, like Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick, and others were on chasers, such as both Penske drivers. And I certainly would have liked to have seen more battles for the lead and for the championship. But the thing is, it just simply was not meant to be. And hopefully, with the low hours package, we definitely see more of that, and I think we will. And overall, after the race is over, the champion, Kyle Busch, for those who don't know, like him winning the championship, it just leaves this strange taste in my mouth, just because Kyle Busch, like, you know, he missed 11 races, but actually later on in this review, I'm actually going to sort of I'm actually going to, like, I fully don't support a champion who missed several races this season over drivers who worked hard over 36 races. But to me, I am going to actually state a couple reasons why I think Kyle Busch did earn this championship. You know. But anyway, so let's get into previous information. So, entering this finale, we had four pretty compelling stories. We had Jeff Gordon's final race, and he could go out on top. Kevin Harvick, who has by far been the most consistent driver this season by far, only has 3 wins. But the thing is, look at how many top 2 finishes he has, top 5, top 10s. In fact, Kevin Harvick this season was actually only 2 top 10s away from tying Jeff Gordon's all-time top 10 record in a season at 30 which was set back in 2007. But actually after this race, Kevin Harvick actually broke the record for most top 2 finishes ever in a season. I think I saw somewhere that it was 16, but I believe it's like 19, but I don't know for sure. That's definitely something that I think I might have to look at. Maybe you can look at it. Anyway, Kyle Busch, he missed the first 11 races due to a leg and foot injuries after the February Xfinity Daytona race, and this is his best shot at winning the championship. And then we had Martin Truex Jr., the underdog. In this season for him was definitely a career season. And thing is, he also drives for Furniture Row Racing, which for several years was really a backmaker team. And this team is from Denver, Colorado. And when we think about most of the teams living in Charlotte, and definitely have I think more funding and more people working in those shops, it's definitely an amazing story. So we have 4 component stories. And actually, a season ago, Martin Truex Jr. only led 1 lap, 1 top 5 finish, and finished somewhere outside the top 20 points. So Martin Truex Jr. is, I think, this season's most improved driver compared to last season. Okay, fine. And here's some other information. Roger Penske says he would like to expand to a 4-car team, and Blaney is not going to be a 3rd car next season due to not being able to find sponsorship. But eventually things will look good for Blaney later in the week. Matt Kenseth returns after a 2-race suspension, and then also I don't know if it was a contract or a sponsorship extension, but there was some sort of extension for Kyle Busch and M&M's that's going to go beyond 2017. And then also other information. And then this past Wednesday, there were actually rumors of Atlanta and Kentucky Speedway being repaved. Both tracks denied this. And I'm going to read what I actually wrote down in my notes. On Wednesday, Danny James of Lane Construction Corporation announced that Atlanta and Kentucky in 2016 whether you're paid, but then both tracks denied this, and this is honestly kind of interesting. I don't know what company actually does like pave and repave racetracks, but it was just simply interesting to hear this news, especially if you have not heard of it. Sorry. Someone decided to come into the door. His favorite driver is Kyle Busch. but anyway. So it was definitely interesting to hear this news, but overall, I just think that whether you like repaves or not, we have to face that at some point. I think soon, both Atlanta and Kentucky are going to get repaved. You know, their services. Atlanta's surface is it was last repaved in 1997 in Kentucky. The pavement is actually as old as the racetrack back in 2000. So they're definitely very old. And the thing is, it's more. I think that the bumps and the abrasiveness is more of an issue at Kentucky and Atlanta, because I remember how last season their main drivers were complaining of like headaches. So to me, I think that whether you like repaves or not, I think at some point soon we are going to see a repaved both of these racetracks soon. After the worst season of his career, Tony Stewart says big changes are coming to his team. And this is not surprising, especially after this season. He had the worst season of his career. Only 2 top 10s, no top 5s, and if he did lead laps, it was very few. And when it comes to changes, maybe changes with the pit crew chief. That's my best guesses. And anyway, I brought up Ryan Blaney earlier, and the thing is, on Friday, good news for him. Ryan Blaney is going to compete for Rookie of the Year in 2016, driving full time for the Wood Brothers. And this is the first time since I believe 2006 or 2000. Or next season will be the first time since I believe 2006 or 2007. I think we'll be competing full time. So the thing is, like, NASCAR's future teams up with NASCAR's past in a way, because the Wood Brothers is NASCAR's oldest active race team. And because they're Penske, and because they get a lot of their equipment from Penske, and because I think Ryan Blaney is definitely among the top or is the most talented up and coming star we have in NASCAR right now. I think definitely watch out for Ryan Blaney, not only to win Rookie of the Year, but maybe win a couple races and be a dark horse and be a surprise for the chase. I think it could happen. But overall, next season, I'm actually looking very forward to next season's Rookie of the Year battle between Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney. I think it's going to be a good rookie battle, and it sort of reminds me a little bit of Newman versus Johnson back in 2002. And also this race, because this was the last race of the season, I might as well highlight a couple other laps, because it wasn't just Jeff Gordon's last race. Last race for Michael Waltrip Racing, an organization that had been active in the Cup Series since 2007, and that's coming to an end. And the thing is now all three of Toyota, the first three teams that won to Toyota in 2007, they are now extinct. Last race for GoDaddy as a sponsor. It was also the last race for Budweiser for at least the near future. Last race for Aaron's. Last full time season for Justin Allgaier for now. And this race was also the last time that Sam Horse Jr. Drove for First Try Motorsports, and who knows, it could be the last race ever in his career, because really we don't know his plans. And and there are probably a couple other lasts out there that I just do not that I'm just not aware about. But anyway, now let's get on to this weekend. So rain. So I wrote in my notes on Friday, rain could get in the way. Because the thing is, about a week from about a week before today, I checked the forecast, and I just saw like a good chance of rain, not only for the Cup race, but actually for all 3 races this weekend. And the thing is, NASCAR did say that too much rain came past the halfway point. They would have rain shorten the race. Thankfully, that did not happen. But the thing is, they also were very prepared for this weekend if rain did come. I think Brian France said that record amount of air titans showed up for the race. But anyway, now let's get on to like practice and qualifying. Carl Edwards was the fastest in the opening practice. He was followed by Keselowski, Truex, Jr., Johnson, Kane, Harvick, Almirola, Boyer, and Larson. Kyle Busch was 16th and Gordon was 30th. Danny Hamlin won the pole, and he's won here twice. Behind him, Logano, Kyle Busch, Newman, Gordon, Ryan Blaney, Carl Edwards, Keselowski Jr., Austin Dillon, Mark Truex Jr., and Jimmy Johnson. Harvick started 13th. Larson was the fastest in practice number 2, followed by Harvick, Edwards, Biffle, Logano, Newman, Johnson, Almirola, Kyle Busch, Casey Kane. Gordon was 15th, Martin Truex Jr. was 19th, and then for the final practice of the season, Logano was the fastest, followed by Kane, Jr., Edwards, Kurt Busch, Ryan Newman, McMurray, Kenseth, Gordon, and Martin Truex Jr. Kyle Busch was 17th, Kevin Harvick was 26th. And on Sunday, they definitely in the previous show, it definitely brought up the 4 stories. The thing is, a lot of the focus was indeed on Jeff Gordon himself, and the thing is, like, part of me felt like that, and the thing is, part of me felt like that was maybe too much, but then again, the other part of me just thought, just like said to myself, like, man, shut up. This is his final race. Enjoy the moment. And the thing is, I wasn't actually expecting to get like very emotional. But I did actually get pretty emotional, like, as we saw Jeff Gordon walking towards his car and taking a bunch of pictures with various different people. It definitely made me sad, and I actually like cried a little bit. I'll admit that. And I guess Mother Nature was also sad too, because the thing is, the race was delayed over an hour due to heavy rain. But thankfully, after that, no more rain. So here we go. The final race of 2015, and we are green. Logano clears Hamlin and leads up number 1, and then Hamlin tried to get back and pass Logano, and it was a pretty good. And it was a pretty good battle up until the first caution, which came from fluid. And before this, there were a couple drivers that were actually pretty upset over the radio, about how NASCAR did the caution earlier. And if remember earlier in the chase at Charlotte, there were a couple drivers that say there was oil on the racetrack and actually caused a couple drivers to get up into the wall. Thankfully, we didn't have that in this race. But it's just interesting to point out there. The fluid actually came from second place, Denny Hamlin, and if you can remember the replay, there was definitely something wrong with the car, because there was smoke and there was actually a bit of fire underneath the car, and then they would go behind the wall, but only for a couple laps, I believe. And then most of the drivers pit, and actually 4 drivers stay out: Logano, Blaney, Almirola, and Larson. We have a restart. And the thing is pretty much everyone except Logano dropped like a rock. And the thing is, we already saw the importance of tires, even though we weren't 20 laps in. Kyle Busch took the lead away from Logano 1 lap after the restart. And then caution number 2, the competition caution. It was originally planned for lap 25, but after the first caution, they extended it to lap 30. Pit stops. Then we had the restart, and the thing is, Kyle Busch, I think the top 2, I cannot remember. No, never mind. I know. I have here in my notes. The top 2 was Kyle Busch and Carl Edwards. Kyle was on the high side, Edwards was on the inside, and the thing is, both drivers didn't really get that great of a restart, and all of a sudden, here comes Jeff Gordon with a great restart. And he clears both drivers coming after number 2, and the crowd roars. And I think that was actually probably one of the better moments of this race. The fact that in his final race, he was able to lead laps and be up front and be pretty and look like he actually could have a good chance of winning this race and the championship. And the thing is, Gordon would hold the lead for the next few laps, but then eventually, the third caution came out. Casey Kane had a right rear tire go down, and you can see damage on the right rear. So obviously there must have been debris on the racetrack. So that's why they took the caution. And then we have a restart as Kevin Harvick took it away from Jeff Gordon. But then all of a sudden, 1 lap later, big crash down the back straightaway. I think this all started when either Ty Dillon came down the racetrack or Clint Boyer got loose and came up into Dillon. I can't remember exactly how. I believe Boyer just got loose, hit Ty Dillon, and all of a sudden overcorrected it, turned back to the right into Dale Earnhardt Jr. in front of Eric Almirola. Casey Mears got involved. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. got some damage, and there were definitely a couple. Darren Reagan got damaged, so both MWR cars, and that was certainly a sad ending for both of them and that team. But overall, there were a lot of drivers that did get involved, and some got heavy damage and others didn't. And the one interesting thing that happened early in the race, in case you forgot, was actually Jimmy Johnson, who I believe was actually inside the top 5, was actually called to the pits because apparently on the previous pit stops, the Jackman actually. I don't know if he did it on purpose. I don't know if he did it on purpose, but actually bet in the side skirts. And the thing is, that's a no. So they had to come back in, and I actually think that actually did hurt a chance for them to win actually. And then Hamlin also got himself back on the lead lap. Restart lap 54. And then eventually, we would just get a long green flag run. Kevin Harvick was leading during this time. Kyle Busch was still up front. The thing is, all of a sudden, Jeff Gordon would just simply an ill handling car. And the thing is, this was all around. This was around the time of when the sun went down and the stars came out, and so I think that for at least a couple of drivers running in front, they weren't able to adapt to the racetrack, and I actually think that it actually hurt both Gordon and Truex, in my opinion, and then also and I think it helped Busch and Harvick, and also the two Penske teammates, who both actually led, who both drivers combined led more laps by far more than anyone else. But the thing is, overall, during these long green flag runs, there wasn't a lot of action happening on. I mean, there were some notables that got themselves, into the top 5, like Kenseth and Larson. But overall, just simply not too much was happening. We did have some green flag pit stops. There were a couple drivers that actually did get into the wall. One of those was Allgaier. Dan Kirkpatrick came down for an unscheduled pit stop. But overall, just simply not a lot of action. Not a lot of action up front. And actually, after the first cycle of green flag pit stops, Kevin Harvick, who pitted 1 lap after Kyle Busch, lost the lead. And strangely enough, he wasn't really able to really ever catch Kyle Busch for really the rest of the race. So either Harvick made the wrong adjustment, or his car was just simply getting worse, or Kyle Busch simply made adjustments that made their cars a lot better. And then we actually had a second cycle of green flag pit stops, and then actually small problems for one of the 4 contenders, Martin Truex Jr. Replay shows that actually they were trying to fuel the car, and actually there weren't some of the fuel spilled out and actually created a bit of a fire, but it went away as soon as Truex pulled off the pits. And there was definitely big concerns that the team would have to come back in a lot earlier than the others because they didn't get full fuel. But thankfully, a caution not too long after that on lap 150 came out. It was for the debris on the backstretch, and it came from I think it was like tape off of like Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car. And then we had a restart. Kyle Busch grabbed the lead off turn number 2, clearing Jay Logano. No, wait a second. It actually wasn't. It was Logano, but actually the top 2 who restarted were actually Logano and Edwards. And Edwards didn't pit, and it really backfired. Edwards eventually, just like dropped like a rock in a hurry. And really during this round, during this run, no one was able to pass Kyle Busch. Kevin Harvick was able to move up into second. And then we had another caution number 6, and it was from Josh Wise, who smacked the wall in turn number 1. Pit stops, and then Truex, who really at this point did not really have like the speed to win. They decided to take a gamble, 2 tires, and then with this restart, at first it looked like that the Waltrip Jr. was not going to be able to lead. He was still going to be able to maybe hold on to like a top 5 spot, but eventually Truex eventually dropped. And during this period, Keselowski led, and he would go on to lead for pretty much most of the remaining of the green flag run. And things overall, not a lot. Once again, not a lot was happening during this green flag run. Green flag pit stops left 214. Kyle Busch led briefly, and then Brad Keselowski regained the lead. And by lap 222, it looked like that. At this rate, Kyle Busch was going to be the champion, because Kyle Busch eventually had like I think towards the end of the run, Kyle Busch had like almost like a 10-second lead over his closest competitor for the championship, Kevin Harvick. And both of these drivers were into the top 10. But then all of a sudden, as this green flag run, all of a sudden, the closer we got to the race, the more interesting it got. Because here's the thing, Kyle Larson, the longer the green flag run went, the better his car was. And Larson late in earlier long green flag runs, Larson showed that he was among the fastest of the cars out there, and then this run, it showed that once again. And Larson first. One thing that was hurting Larson was definitely slower cars, and at one point, I think he was trying to lap Ryan Preece, and he actually hit the wall a little bit. But I think hitting the wall might have actually helped Kyle Larson, because the thing is, not too long after that, he was actually able to get by Kyle Busch. This was on lap 254, only 13 laps left in the season, and the thing is, with like 10 laps to go, Larson was under a second, behind Brad Keselowski and fast closing, and had the last caution not had come out, I don't know. I think Larson definitely would have gotten to the back of Keselowski. I don't know if he would have been able to make the pass, because catching them is one thing, passing them is another. But overall, what Larson did before the last caution in this final restart, that was something that we had seen very much of. A driver, particularly a pretty young driver, still pretty early in his career, being able to chase the leader and get closer and closer and closer, and especially near the end of the race. And I was so hoping the last caution did not come out, because thing is, like, it was getting really good, and overall, watching Larson getting closer and closer to Brad, I think it was, in my opinion, it was the most exciting thing about tonight. This race, I think for the most part was sort of, I think like, just sort of, I think a little bit, I think it was lackluster, a lot of this race, but overall, if there was one thing that was pretty exciting in my opinion, it was watching that. The thing is, unfortunately, the last question came out, and this one I think could be looked at as controversial, because here's why. It came out for debris on the front stretch. NBC captures the debris, but the debris is on the apron. For example, the debris is on the apron, not in the middle of the racetrack. But the thing is, Rick Allen said that, and I believe Rick Allen said, the flagman said, the debris was under the flag stand. And the thing is, but the thing is, overall, like, I'm having a hard time. I'm kind of. I mean, to me, I just would like to know, like, when NASCAR, like when NASCAR called the caution. What was the debris on the front stretch, or was it on the apron? If debris is on the apron, then to me, I don't think if they threw the caution for debris on the apron, then to me, in my opinion, there's no reason to throw a caution for that. But if they did throw the caution because debris was in the middle of the front stretch, then okay, fine, I understand that's a hazard. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Eventually, pit stops. Final pit stops of the night, and coming out pit road, here was the top 10, and all of them took 4 tires. Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Larson, Harvick, Hamlin, Logano, Kurt Busch, Carl Edwards, Matt Kenseth, Jeff Gordon. That was the top 10, and here we go. At the time, the final restart of the night. Keselowski on the bottom, Kyle Busch is on the top. Green flag is in the air, and as they head off into turn number 1 and 2, here comes Kyle Busch on the outside. Kyle Busch is able to clear Keselowski, but here comes Kevin Harvick, who passed Keselowski, I think, like a lap later. And now all of a sudden, here's where we are. Kyle Busch is leading. Kevin Harvick is in second, and Kevin Harvick he was in a position very similar to this one season ago, but the main difference, Harvick was leading. Not trying to chase down the leader. And the thing is, Kyle Busch, who clearly throughout most of the race was the best among the 4 all night, and really just overall one of the best cars in this race, was just simply able to pull away from the pack. And coming off a turn number 4 for the final time this season, Kyle Busch takes the checker flag, and he wins the race and the championship. This is Kyle Busch's first career championship. And overall, what a comeback for Kyle Busch. Whether or not you love him or hate him, you can't. There is one thing you cannot say. This wasn't a comeback. I mentioned it earlier. Kyle Busch, he missed the first 11 races due to a leg and a foot injury in the Xfinity February the Daytona race. And the thing is, Kyle Busch, when he got back in the car, he was like, I think like over like 170 something points outside the top 30. It was able to win 4 races, 3 of them in a row, made the chase. And actually, I think for most of the chase, he was actually a little bit under the radar. And in this race, he won. And here's one interesting fact. This was the first time Kyle Busch won a chase race as a chaser, which is actually pretty interesting. I gotta say, the only time he won a race during the chase was actually the Phoenix Fall race in 2005. But he was a non-chaser. And overall, I think that as I go through some notables, Kevin Harvick finished second, ends his career with 9th. I counted 19 top 2 finishes because the thing is, he won 3 times. He won 3 times, but also finished second like 16 times, I believe. So that makes him 19. And for the second consecutive season in a row, he led over 2,000 laps. In fact, the thing is, I don't know if he did it tonight, but the thing is, in his 2 years driving for Stewart-Haas Racing, not only has he captured 8 wins, including a championship and almost a second one, the amount of laps he's led this season and that last season combined are actually almost or a little bit more than all the laps he led all those years with British Racing in the Cup Series, and this lasted from 2001 to 2013, so 13 years. So it is pretty amazing what Kevin Harvick has been able to do ever since coming to this team, and I think Harvick and I think that we could easily see Harvick have another very strong season next season. Anyway, final race of his career. Jeff Gordon ends his career with a 6th place finish, which really, after spending most of the night, around 10th or outside the top 10, it was a good, solid finish. He led laps. And I think it's frankly, even though he did not really go out on top, not many drivers who have had great careers are able to say that they had a good shot at winning the championship in the final season. But in Jeff Gordon's case, it will be different. And then Mark Truex Jr. Finished 12th. I think a 2-tire strategy. I think actually hurt his chance of a better finish. But overall, it was still a career season for him, and also for Furniture Road Racing as well. So the thing is, overall, I guess I'm gonna spend the next it'll probably be the next 10 plus minutes on whether I think on sort of some debates. Is Kyle Busch winning this championship good or bad for NASCAR? Is Kyle Busch a legit championship? Did Kyle Busch deserve this championship, etc.? And I said earlier about how about how I do believe that it does leave a strange taste in my mouth to have a champion but the champion only competed in 25 events and won it over drivers that worked hard, over several drivers that worked hard over 36. Now, obviously, Kyle Busch did not intentionally wreck himself and purposely injure himself. He definitely did not do that at all. And if you seriously think that, wow. But anyway, But for once, I will actually defend Kyle Busch, and maybe explain, I think, to the people who think that Kyle Busch did not deserve this championship. I will say this, though. Kyle Busch definitely had to overcome a lot. There's no denying that. Kyle Busch, to start the season like he did, and then to come back. And the thing is, Kyle Busch, I said earlier, that I believe Kyle Busch, when he started the season in the Coca-Cola 600, I think Kyle Busch was over 170 points or something like that, behind 30th. And the thing is, Kyle Busch needed a win, and Kyle Busch needed to be into the top 30 in points. If Kyle Busch did not do those two things, he would not have made the chase and thus had a chance to win this year's championship. And the thing is, Kyle Busch, it wasn't easy at first. He had bad finishes at Dover, Spring Dover race, and Spring Michigan race. In the Spring Michigan race, he finished dead last. Dover he finished around 40th, and so those were two so those were two bad races. I actually thought that whether or not he would get that win or not, it was going to put him too far back. But then all of a sudden, after that, Kyle Busch just came on a tear. Won at Sonoma, and then after the following race at Daytona, which Daytona was after Sonoma, he won the next three races: Kentucky, Loudon, and Indianapolis, 3 in a row. And Kyle Busch actually almost won 4 in a row. Had Kyle Busch had one more lap of fuel, if he did that would have been 4 in a row. So Kyle Busch, so that was already an impressive stat. But the thing is, Kyle Busch was still able to be very consistent. Was still able to be very consistent, and was actually able to clinch his chase spot one race, the race before Richmond, Darlington. So for Kyle Busch to be put in that kind of hole and also recover from 2 bad races, that is definitely an impressive. And because of that, I think Kyle Busch did definitely earn his spot in the chase. And I think is really like, even though he does have 11 less races than most of the other like drivers who competed or full time, I think Kyle Busch definitely did have a better season than probably more than half of the field, and you could probably use this to bring out a flaw in the chase format, but actually. If this was non-chase standings, and I found, and you can find this on Racing Reference, Kyle Busch actually cracked the top 20. And when we think about some of the names that Kyle Busch beated, Tony Stewart, Dan Patrick, Austin Dillon, and a couple other names. So to me, I think it really shows about how consistent and dominant he was when Kyle Busch did come back. And who knows, had Kyle Busch not had an injury or was actually able to run the full season, it might have not had made a difference. Maybe he still would have won the championship. Another thing that I think also makes Kyle Busch's run since missing ever since he came back, though, was the thing is, like, in the past, like over the past 3 years, we had drivers that got injured and sat out for a certain period of time, but he had struggled to come back. Denny Hamlin missed 5 races due to a broken back. Was actually given a medical waiver if he can make it. To still compete for a championship. The thing is, Hamlin really struggled throughout the rest of the season, and really after breaking his leg in a sprint car incident in August of 2013, when Tony Stewart came back, and this is before Kevin Ward, the Kevin Ward situation, Tony Stewart, I don't think has been the same. And I think a lot of people thought Kyle Busch could end up that same road. But the thing is, certainly Kyle Busch proved all those people, and I was definitely one of those people wrong. And I think during the chase, Kyle Busch did what he needed to do. He was consistent. And I think did what he needed to do in this race at Homestead, win it. And he was very good in this race. And thus, I think that even though it will still, I think, maybe forever leave a strange taste in my mouth, I think Kyle Busch did earn this championship, even though it still leaves a strange taste in my mouth. And that is pretty much what I gotta say about that. And in the future, and like I said in the beginning, I'm going to be making a video hopefully sometime with the next 2 weeks about my thoughts on the season as a whole. I'm also going to try to make a video about sort of my thoughts on Jeff Gordon, because I think that Jeff Gordon's career is so massive and legendary that I think that it actually deserves a video from me, and I'm going to give my thoughts on that. There's just not enough time left in this video, in my opinion. And maybe who knows? I might make some other videos about certain events that happened this season. But overall, like this season. But I will say this though: this season overall, I think definitely. There were definitely a lot of events that I think happened this season that I think are reasons of why NASCAR's popularity has declined. And to me, with Kyle Busch, 25 race season, Kyle Busch winning his championship, I don't really know how much. I don't really know how it's really going to impact the 2016 season. Even though 2016 has low downforce, and I think 2016 could actually be a very great season. I mean, to me, it'll be interesting to see how the numbers are. But overall, I'm glad that this season is over, and that's pretty much and that's pretty much it. I'm probably going to maybe I might slap myself in the face later for for probably forgetting something. But overall, at this point, I think it's it. And I would just like to say, before I say goodbye, that overall, I'm very proud of myself that I was able to cover pretty much every single Sprint Cup race this season, with the exception of the 2 Beltway duels. And who knows? I definitely do have plans to do race reviews next season. And I would like to thank everyone who supported these, including the very few who actually posted stuff in the comments. I appreciate that as well, and hopefully in the future I can maybe get more creative and interesting with these videos. But the thing is, I would like to thank everyone for watching. Be sure to rate, comment, subscribe, and by God, the season's over. And thank you for the memories, Jeff Gordon. One hell of a career. Definitely a remarkable career, memorable career. And it's just simply sad and tough to see you leave. And best wishes to what is next.